What if the champion's bike suddenly gets handed to someone new mid-season? That's exactly the scenario unfolding in the paddock of MotoGP. The Italian manufacturer Ducati has made a startling decision. Their top ride, one associated with Marc Marquez's championship campaign, may now be driven by a younger talent, Nicolò Bulega. This isn't a typical shuffle between teammates. It's a move that signals upheaval. Marquez, fresh from clinching his seventh Premier Class title, finds himself sidelined by injury just when momentum peaked. Ducati, meanwhile, confirmed a test session at Jerez for Bulega and announced the Italian will replace Marquez in the last two rounds of the 2025 season. For fans, analysts, and rivals alike, the question now stretches beyond who's riding the bike. To what does this shift mean for Ducati's dominance and Marquez's legacy? Stay with us as we unpack how this chain reaction started and why it could reshape MotoGP's future. From triumph to turbulence in the span of a few laps, that describes the journey of Marc Marquez and Ducati in 2025. At the season's outset, Ducati handed Marquez a factory ride with the full expectation of championship glory. Reports noted his presentation with Ducati framed the challenge as the biggest of his career. He didn't disappoint. Marquez locked in the world title with races to spare, reinforcing Ducati as the dominant force in the sport. Then came a dramatic turn. In the Indonesian Grand Prix, Marquez suffered a significant collarbone injury that forced him out of the remaining events and opened the door for replacements. Behind the scenes, Ducati faces more than just a temporary substitution, a strategic recalibration. Their prototype machine, the Desmos GP25, is built for dominance and development into 2026 and beyond. Losing their top rider, even temporarily, means the team must ensure continuity and performance. The injury risk to Marquez triggered Ducati's contingency planning. This isn't just about one bike. It's about protecting the championship momentum, managing resources, and safeguarding the brand's reputation at the top of MotoGP. And what happens next? Another twist starts to emerge. A longtime contender in the wings finally gets his spotlight. Nicolò Bulega, although not yet a MotoGP regular, has quietly built a formidable resume in the superbike world. The Italian rider finished as runner-up in the 2025 Superbike World Championship, WSBK, with the Ducati factory team. His journey, from Moto3 and Moto2 championships, through the World SSB title in 2023, up into World SBK with Ducati dominance. What makes this noteworthy is Ducati's commitment to him. Contracts that include a role as test rider for MotoGP, and now a sudden leap into replacing a world champion. Sources indicate Ducati arranged a private test at Jerez to gauge how Bulega adapts to the GP machine. But the path isn't without risk. Bulega has never raced a MotoGP class event, and stepping into a championship-winning bike with elevated expectations brings pressure in spades. The move sends a clear message. Ducati isn't just filling a seat, they're placing a strategic bet. The next section explores the deal itself, what Ducati has authorized and what it means. Quietly in the background, Ducati pulled the trigger on a move that will reverberate through the paddock. Official confirmation came that Nicolò Bulega will ride the Desmos in the final two rounds of the 2025 season, Portugal, Portimao, and Valencia. The stipulation: he'll complete a test at Jerez prior to that assignment, giving Ducati a chance to vet his adaptation. From Ducati's public statements, General Manager Luigi Dall'Igna praised Bulega's growth and the value he's brought to the Ducati family in Superbike. Reuters.com. The implications are bold. This isn't simply a temporary fill-in. Ducati is signaling their long-term strategy is shifting. Handing the world champion machine to a rookie in class suggests confidence in Bulega and possibly a pivot away from relying exclusively on Marquez in the near future. For Ducati's competitors, this is a game changer. the dominant manufacturer may recalibrate its lineup ahead of the 2026-2027 regulation changes. Yet this deal also raises questions. How will Bulega perform under the spotlight? Will he match the expectations of the bike, the team, and the fans? The next section delves into those challenges and controversies behind the scenes. Beneath the headline splash lies a tangle of risk, expectation, and strategic tension. For Nicolò Bulega, the jump from Superbike to replacing Marc Marquez mid-season is enormous. Industry voices suggest he privately fears the move could make or break his career. The technical demands alone are intense. MotoGP machines differ dramatically from superbikes in aero, electronics, chassis balance, and tires. Ducati has noted that Bulega has yet to truly know the Desmos Disi and Michelin tires in race conditions. For Ducati, the stakes are equally high. Their championship streak depends on minimizing disruption. An underperformance or early mistake by Bulega could jeopardize not just the remaining season but reputational capital for 2026. Also internally, team morale and dynamics may shift. The incumbent Marquez, though injured, remains a top rider. His future with Ducati now enters question mark territory. Will he return to full strength? Will Ducati retain him as number one? And how will teammates respond to Bulega's sudden promotion? In racing circles, rumors swirl of contract leverage, that Ducati might be using Bulega's rise as a strategic tool, both to push Marquez and to plan for the post-Marquez era. While nothing has been publicly confirmed, these undercurrents make this move far more than a simple substitution. Next, we'll examine the wider impact, what this means for MotoGP and Ducati's future. A single-seat swap may ripple into a full-scale shift across the sport. With Ducati handing the world champion machine to Nicolò Bulega, the landscape of MotoGP is primed for change. Ducati's dominance has been built on a combination of engineering, rider consistency, and smart team structure. Now, the manufacturer appears to be reshaping that structure. By promoting a younger rider into prime territory mid-season, Ducati signals it wants continuity beyond Marquez, perhaps anticipating regulation changes in 2027 or a transition in the rider hierarchy. For rival teams, this introduces a fresh threat. Bulega entering the top class on a factory bike could become a wild card, unpredictable and hungry. For Marquez and his legacy, the move raises questions. Will he come back as the number one rider, or will his role shift? The fans also feel the tremor. The narrative of the sport, the veteran champion versus the rising star, may be evolving. Perhaps most importantly, this move underscores how quickly fortunes can shift in MotoGP. A late injury opens a door. A test session translates into a replacement ride. A manufacturer responds to crisis by rewriting its blueprint. As race weekend draws near in Portugal and Valencia, all eyes will be on how Bulega performs, and whether this gamble pays off, not just for Ducati, but for the future direction of the sport itself. Summary: Ducati's bold decision to hand the reins of their top MotoGP machine to Nicolò Bulega after Marc Marquez's injury isn't just a stopgap fix. It's a strategic pivot. We've traced Marquez's build-up and setback, followed Bulega's ascension, analyzed the deal, weighed the risks, and explored the industry-wide implications. Now the question remains, will Bulega match the bike's potential? Will Ducati reaffirm their dominance? And will Marquez's chapter with Ducati take a new path?